Listen, in this clip now, what I want to do, I want to recommend a book, if that's okay. Now, I just want to also disclose that this is not the easiest of reads, all right? But if you are interested in investing into this book for yourself, it is profound, right? This one book probably is the resource that gave me more insight and understanding of myself than any other book I've ever read. It's a book called On Becoming a Person, written by a gentleman named Mr. Carl Rogers. Now, Carl Rogers, back in the 1940s, he was the gentleman grounded in humanistic psychology that coined the term counselling, all right? He actually coined the term. Carl Rogers was of the mindset that it is possible for human beings to simply talk through problems and resolve their problems, rather than having to undergo conventional therapy or psychoanalysis or anything like this. Bear in mind, Carl Rogers came many years after gentlemen such as Sigmund Freud and some of the psychoanalytical thinkers, right? So if you've ever watched a movie where you've seen perhaps a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, they sit there in a suit and a dicky bow tie and they ask questions about what's your relationship like with your parents, and then they try to psychoanalyze, right? That's really, really old school psychology, all right? What I propose is that over the last 100 years or so, we've seen the various helping professions in applied psychology especially become more conversational. Just simply acknowledging that we're human beings, right? We're not complex creatures that need to be diagnosed and fixed, right? We're just simply sometimes human beings that need to be listened to and understood, right? When we can build relationships into our life with people that just listen to us, people that get us, we have the space that we need to simply make sense of our experience, all right? It's not therapists that people need more of in life. It's just good, strong, grounded, mature, healthy relationships, all right? So this book, essentially, On Becoming a Person, when I read this book, it helped me to establish a bit of a vision for what it actually looks like to become a fully functioning human being. All right, think about what much of the mental health industry does. It diagnoses people, it puts people in boxes. Psychiatry labels and diagnoses people in response to the emotional sensations that they have. All right, this book looks in a completely different direction. Rather than focusing on the problems and that which we don't want, and then defining ourselves by that which we feel and that which we don't want, we instead turn our focus in a completely different direction and look to identify the kind of people that we actually want to grow and become. Thus, we enhance our mental health and emotional well-being in the process. All right, listen, this is just a different perspective. Granted, it's not conventional, all right, but I guarantee that you will find if you apply these ideas that it's healthy, all right, it is sustainable moving forward. It will liberate you. Right, it will set you free in so many ways. So, on becoming a person, these are the 5 main ideas that I've taken from this book. If you read the book for yourself, you'll obviously gain a lot more depth and insight. But let us just begin to consider what it might look like for us to become fully functioning people. Rather than being broken people that need to be fixed, we're just imperfect people who are growing and improving. Now, you get to decide who you are. You can be a broken person, you can have a condition and an illness and have something wrong with you, or you can just simply be an imperfect person who hasn't established all of the learnings required to live a fully functioning life just yet. So if you're growing, then that means that you're improving. And if you're improving, that means you are becoming a fully functioning person. So let's now give this a little bit of definition, right? Just see if this resonates with you. I hope that it does. Fully functioning people are open to experience. And by this, what I mean is that we all have emotions in life. We all have ups, we all have downs, we all have highs, we all have lows. Sometimes we all get a bit frustrated. Sometimes we all get a little bit panicky or a little bit anxious. Sometimes we all get a little bit stressed out. Emotions aren't illnesses that need to be cured or healed or fixed. They just simply need to be understood and managed and regulated. This is some really, really good news, all right? When our emotional experience just simply becomes part of our day-to-day experience that can be understood and regulated, then we can become open to experience. We don't need to feel happy. We also don't need to feel sad, all right? But we just simply acknowledge that negative emotions don't need to be resisted. They don't need to be denied. They don't need to be cured or healed or medicated. They don't need to have any of these things done, all right? They just simply need to be worked through and managed, all right? It is a helpful outlook that we can take towards life and ourselves, all right? Otherwise, we might end up looking to someone or a professional to fix us or heal us or cure us for the rest of our days. Right, listen, when I was operating as a counsellor around about a decade ago, I actually stopped, counselling. Reason being, some of the people that I would work with, it was kind of like really, really hard work. People in their 50s, sometimes 60s, having done nothing with their lives. Having never done anything, they've spent their whole lives beating themselves up, self-loathing, undermining themselves. I'm useless, I'm worthless. Sitting there, talking about how depressed they are, how sad they are. I've been diagnosed as, manic depressive disorder. And I said, what have you done about this? What are you doing about this? Well, I don't have any relationships. And how is it you add value to people's life? Oh, I'm really, really lonely. Cool. And how is it that you really go out of your way to connect with people? Because, until our desire to change and improve in life becomes greater than our desire to remain the same, nothing's going to change for us. All right? Do you know that therapists aren't paid enough to care? Therapists aren't paid enough to fix or cure or any of these sorts of things. When we're open to experience, emotions can just be emotions, for better or for worse. It's okay. We can learn to just take the rough with the smooth. It becomes all right, regardless, either way. Fully functioning people learn how to live existentially. All right. Now, this might seem like a complex concept, but it's not. It's actually really quite simple. All right. Living existentially just simply means that we live grounded in the here and now, right? If you think about it, all we have in life is now. Life is but a sequence of nows. Time is an abstract concept, all right? Yes, we all have a past, but all the past was a now. Back then, it was a previous now. We all have a tomorrow, and that's going to be a tomorrow which may or may not happen. We cannot control. We don't get to decide whether we even wake up tomorrow morning or whether we don't. What I'm saying here is some people go through their lives so transfixed and focused on the past, what the past was, how they've interpreted the past. Other people go through life focused on the future, for better or for worse, what it may hold, and fail to appreciate what's happening now. All right, this is what it means to live existentially, all right, to be fully present and functioning in the now. Right now, you might not have everything you want in life, but I guarantee you that you do have absolutely everything that you need. When we learn to live life existentially, we can begin to experience a significant degree more gratitude, gratefulness, peace, contentment, fulfillment in life, just appreciating that which we do have rather than focusing on that which we don't have or that which we didn't experience back then. All right, making sense? Living existentially is our readiness to live fully in the present without being stuck in the past or transfixed in the future. Self-awareness. Fully functioning people are self-aware. All right. If you are finding offense at something right now, well, it's either someone else's fault, someone else is to blame, someone else is maybe really offending you, someone else is perhaps a bad person, or maybe the main issue is actually how it is that you perceive and interpret people and things. Perhaps you're maybe overly sensitive. All right. That might also be true. Our degree of self-awareness will determine how effective we are at regulating and managing ourselves. How effective we go on to regulate and manage ourselves will determine how socially aware we become. How socially aware we become determines how socially effective we become. How socially effective we are will determine the health and the strength of the relationships that we go on to develop. Intimately, socially, professionally, personally, with our children, with our parents, with our family members, and throughout society at large. It all begins with self-awareness, all right? So, fully functioning people are aware of themselves and can identify the relationship between the health of their attitude, or their outlook on life, or their beliefs or their worldviews, and the quality of their day-to-day experience, right? Rather than going to a doctor or a therapist and being diagnosed with a condition or a label, they say, okay, let me make sense of my life here. All right, I'll give you one really, really extreme example of how ludicrous this culture of diagnosis can be. Have you ever heard of the term ADHD? All right, this is something that has really frustrated me in recent years. This is where fully grown adults, fully grown men and women, will assign labels and terminologies onto young children. ADHD, attention deficit disorder. Attention deficit disorder. Do you know how it is that we become grounded and consistent in life? Through modeling others, through having wise, mature role models in life. If a child does not have a wise, mature role model because their parents are emotionally inconsistent or their teachers actually don't have time to invest into them, then what chance do the younger generations have of actually growing in maturity and consistency or character? It is significantly easier for any human being to label and diagnose another than take time to actually understand. All right, diagnosis, as I've mentioned, and I'm literally I must insist, is one of the most compassionless attitudes that certain professions take towards human beings in life, especially the younger generations. Younger generations do not need to be defined by disorders. They do not need to have more conditions labelled onto them. They simply need mature men and women who will take time to understand them. Right? Could you imagine what your life might look like today? How your life may be different if you had some people, some mature, grounded role models in your life back then who were more interested in understanding you than labeling you and limiting you and defining you and assigning conditions or disorders onto you. All right? It's not even barely humane. Creative expression. If we are not limiting ourselves and defining ourselves in undermining ways, then we become free to creatively express ourselves. All right? I remember I ended up working with a young man, again, maybe about 8 or 9 years ago. And this young man had also been labelled with ADHD, high energy. He'd been called dyslexic. He had all these terminologies. And he came to me and he said, absolutely depressed, really, really sad, or a really low point in his life. And he said, I feel so this, I feel so that. I said, okay, what do you actually want? He said, I love art. I want art. I want to be a cartoonist. I want to create cartoons, but I'm not smart enough. I've got ADHD. I've got this. I've got the next thing. I said, what would happen if you just ignored all them? What would it mean if they were wrong? What would it mean if you don't have any conditions? What would it mean if they just simply didn't understand your need to be creative? All right, some of the most creative people in life, go on to accomplish the greatest of things. Creative expression is freedom expressed. Creative expression is motivated more by freedom or new experiences than safety and or emotional stability. All right, some people will go through life prioritizing stability and the comfort zone and security rather than freedom. All right, it's one of these kind of conflicts that we have going on within ourselves sometimes that we may not even be aware of. Think about it. If we are prioritizing the comfort zone and safety and security in our lives, then we might be compromising freedom. Freedom is all about our willingness to express ourselves creatively, personally. If we're expressing ourselves creatively, we're most likely being authentic and genuine and real, which is okay. That's a mark of maturity. It's a mark of self-awareness. But when a person is reserved, holding back, not expressing themselves creatively, it's because they've already bought into a limitation in some way, right? They are perhaps a terminology. They are perhaps a label. They are perhaps who a professional somewhere has said that they might be. All right, creative expression is liberated by nature. Creative expression is a reflection of a person functioning fully. Last but not least, fulfillment and peace, right? Fulfillment and peace. Many people go through life prioritizing happiness. If you've ever heard of the term, the pursuit of happiness, most advertisements these days on television and magazines promote happiness because most people want it. Most people want happiness, to compensate for their sadness or for their angst or for their emotional instability or for their lack of fulfillment. And it's important to understand there's a big difference between happiness and fulfillment, right? Happiness comes when we have a pleasurable or a pleasing experience. You could get a kiss from someone. I could give you a little kiss right now. There you go, and you can feel happy. So, okay, and you make me blush. Or you could go to the movies and watch a comedy, or you could go to the pizza parlor and buy yourself a nice pepperoni or cheese pizza or something like that, or a vegan if you're a vegan pizza, and that can make you happy. Or you can go to the cake shop and buy yourself a nice cake. The problem with happiness is it fleets, it's fleeting, it's here one moment, gone the next, right? You'll find that many people with kind of like addictive personalities, perhaps alcoholism, drugs, success, addicts, adrenaline junkies, become addicted to this emotional sensation. It's kind of like extreme happiness and extreme buzz. How we overcome this and how we outgrow this in life is actually through creative expression. Because when we commit to the process of creative expression through that which we are and through that which we do, we begin to see that we're actually now adding some genuine value into the world, and we experience fulfillment instead. Fulfillment is better than happiness. Fulfillment comes through us expressively creating ourselves, through being free, through adding value to the world. Happiness comes through a gratifying experience, all right? Peace accompanies fulfillment. Fulfillment and peace isn't motivated by happiness or emotional gratification and can delay state today in anticipation of personal growth or progress tomorrow. It means that we can actually put off happiness today because we're working towards something greater tomorrow. We're working towards becoming more valuable for others, accomplishing something significant with our lives, all right? We start with the end in mind.